Hello, everybody. I am so sorry. I am late. Oh, wow. I just got out of class. Lots of questions. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, I'm sorry I'm late. Let's see, who do I have? Okay. Just wanted to touch bases with you since school has started to see how things were going. To remind you of a couple of things. Mostly this is informational. I sent out an email the other day that kind of covered pretty much what I wanted to talk about today. And we'll look a little bit with look a little bit at PPAT, just kind of go over that with you. Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Just want to just remind you of a couple of things. I know that you can read. I know that you've already read it, but just want to remind you that if you have not registered for the PPAT, that you need to go ahead and get that done. And of course, the task submission dates are indicated here. The window opened January 3rd, and of course, you could have registered or by that time and upload your task 1. Make sure that your professor sees that task first before you upload it. And most of you know the task 1 is not scored by ETS, but task 2, 3, and 4 are, and these are the dates. And just to kind of remind you that 2 and 3 are due on the very same day. So, of course, you can upload it whenever you get ready, but once you get it ready, it's okay to go. As you are now, make sure that you are observing and getting ready to prepare for your first class or to teach your first lesson. And I sent out I think, excuse me, the first week observation is within the 493 Moodle shell, and I've asked the 499 professors to place it in their shell if they have not already done so for you. So maybe we'll talk about that maybe just a little bit tonight, depending on how far we get within this discussion, if there's some questions, to see what things are looking like for you. Remember that we do have the college career fair here at the university, and everybody's expected to participate to come. Now, if you're extremely long way away, I'm giving you a heads up. I'm giving you time enough to know that you need to be prepared to come. So you can start working on that now. Let your clinical teacher know that you have to come to campus on that particular day. I think they gave me a date, but I think it changed. So I'm going to have to make a note to make sure that I get you the correct date, and I will do that. But it is in March. just to remind you that you have to have 3 observations by your clinical teacher. You have to have 3 observations completed by your supervising professor. You'll also do a midterm evaluation, which is in March, and a final evaluation, which is in April. Your 3 or 6 evaluations should be done, 3 regular evaluations should be done, 2 in February, 2 in March, and 2 in April. So you have your midterm and a second observation in March, and you have your final observation and your final evaluation in April. If you look back maybe through the information that Lynn sent you, there are some agreement forms that need to be signed, so make sure you get those done. And I've included a list of dates for the meeting, and I do again apologize for today, people. I'm so sorry. As I said, class started again today, and then I had a student I had to conference. So, okay, I think I've covered everything from that standpoint. Does anybody have any questions about anything? And I do want you to remember to please check your comprehensive teaching capacity schedule on a regular basis, and make sure that you govern yourselves accordingly as it relates to that schedule. Any questions? So how's it going? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was just wondering which email the agreement forms were in, because I must have missed those by accident.
Okay, I will double check with Lynn for the agreement forms. I know they are out there because I had someone to ask me a question about one and they had it in their hand today. So I don't know where they got that from, but I will double check with Lynn to make sure that those forms have been sent out, okay?
They're on the UMO EDU website.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You might want to visit that. I probably should have put that in there as well. Okay, let's see. Do you have any questions? How are things going? First week observations, first week getting back. I know some of you still are testing. I know high schools are testing at this time. Is everything going okay?
Everything's going good with me. My teacher's really helpful, and she's like letting me take a big role in the class, so they're not just going to be thrown into having me as their teacher, but the kids are still getting used to having someone new in the class, so they're not all super, attached yet, but it'll come. So I'm good right now.
Okay.
So for the first week observation form, like, am I waiting until next week because we're still?
Yes, that's fine. Probably we might hit first week observation. For me, for 493, they're going to upload those, so I'll get a chance to read those ahead of time. For 499, I sent that email out today to your 499 professors for those who are not in the class. So I don't know when they will have it submitted, but I will get to see my students whenever I ask them to upload it, and then maybe when we get a chance, because I will have another meeting with you. I think it's next week, but it'll be a quick meeting next week. I'm only scheduled about 30 minutes for you, but that's because I wanted to touch bases with you to see if anybody had any questions, if your clinicals had questions, and I've also scheduled a clinical teacher meeting as well.
Dr. Bell, do you know how long this meeting is going to last?
I'm going to go over one, since I was supposed to be here at 5, and if you have to leave, you just have to leave.
Okay, I do have to leave at 6.
Okay, that'll be fine.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. I just wanted to, let me see if I can share. I think most of you are 303 students who went through PPAT, 303, 304 students. Can you see the screen, PPAT assessment?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, good. I think most of you went through that, so I just want to kind of look at your task 1 for you. I think you know how to find that and to go over that. I just wanted to kind of run through it a little bit with you if this works. Of course, you know that task 1 is knowledge of students in the learning environment. Okay, and then you have a PPAT handbook. I'm hoping that we've covered a lot of things already for you. And the the task requirements. I don't know. Are you seeing the PPAT task requirements? Or do I need to share again?
Share again.
Oh gosh, okay.
It's stuck on the first screen.
Okay.
Okay, there it goes. It went.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me see if I can move this over. I don't want to learn more. Okay, there we go. All right, so we all know, most of you know, the first one is the knowledge of students in the learning environment. If you if you went 303, 304, went over this, you have to have the contextual factors chart, the instructional support and resources chart. You're familiar with those, student interest inventory, and that communications letter, okay? And of course, text box 1-1, community, district, school, contextual factors that influence instruction. It says completing the contextual factors chart. I'm not going to read this to you because you can read it yourself. But what I do want to say to you is that you must answer the guiding prompts for this. And then, of course, include the contextual factors chart, which, of course, is 2 pages. Identify a chosen community factor, identify a district factor, and identify a school factor. And then follow the directions for each one of those. And then for the classroom demographics and knowledge of students, identify your chosen demographic factor based on your chosen classroom demographic factors. Then identify and describe 1 possible instructional strategy, remember that word, and 1 learning activity, okay? Then identify your chosen knowledge of students factor, and then identify and describe 1 instructional strategy and 1 learning activity. So make sure that as you do these, okay, I have an instructional strategy, I have a learning activity that would further my classroom, and then for both of these, make sure that you provide a rationale. Always explain as to how the identified strategy and activity connect to the chosen factor. And be astute, be smart, be scholarly, make sure you've done some research. Resources to enhance student learning. The guiding prompt, this is your instructional and support resources chart. And you complete that chart based on the resources that you have within that, that school. Select 2 resources from the chart and describe resources that are available to your school. You select those 2 resources and describe how you would use each in your classroom to support learning, and select a particular characteristic that you listed on the knowledge of students in the contextual factors chart, and then describe how a resource different from the 2 listed, okay, just read it, it's there, could enhance. So they're pushing you further into utilizing some of the resources from those charts. And then, of course, you have to upload your instructional support resources chart.
All right, Dr. Bell, I have to go. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Thank you. I'm sorry. Goodbye.
You're fine. Bye.
Okay. Rules and procedures, and we're going to go back to communicating and the interest inventory. You do not have to create an interest inventory if you do not want to. You can, but ETS doesn't care if you create one or if you find one. And to save yourself some time, I would find one if it related to what I needed. And I would administer that interest inventory, then I would answer the guiding prompts based on compilation of information from the whole class inventory. Analyze 1 example of how this information would influence an instructional decision that you would make in your classroom. And using 1 student's complete interest inventory, analyze how you would use 1 item from the inventory to promote the student's engagement and learning. It just causes you to have to think. It's the writing and it's the understanding the prompt. Do a thorough job with it. As I said, using one student's complete interest. Okay, I've got my student interest inventory. Check that off. Now, the second thing that I need to do is analyze how I would use this one item, okay, to promote student engagement. Once you do that, check it off, and then you've answered your prompts. As long as you take them step by step and answer them, I think you'll do a good job. And then, of course, you will upload that inventory. Now, let me see if I can move this down just slow enough. Now, most of you have created communications that you sent home to your families. We embedded this in 487, so I don't know if you got to do it, but I know you did it in 303 and 304. Describe one example of how your introductory communication addresses the demographic differences in your classroom. When you write it, make sure it addresses the demographic differences in the classroom and how it fosters interaction among you, your students, and their families. So you might want to include something that maybe that would invite your parents to come if they're from a different cultural background and maybe share. So just make sure that you include that. And then put your communication within your PPAT task.
Dr. Bell, can I ask you
Yes.
a question about that one? I in my last class, we had to turn, task 1 in to the teacher, and I used my student teacher letter, like introduction of the student teacher. Would that be okay to put in there as the communication, because I was introducing myself, what I would be doing?
Yes.
And how to get in touch with me?
Yes, that will be fine, but make sure that you address the demographic differences in your classroom. Did that letter do that? If it didn't, go back and put it in there. My class consists of a variety of students. May not necessarily go as far as naming them out, but maybe from a variety of diverse backgrounds. We have students from maybe different, ethnicities or whatever in the classroom, so that the parents will know, oh, okay, well, we have a really diverse class here. There are lots of different students here. So I think you need to, if you send that, if it's an introductory letter, it's okay with me, but make sure that it addresses these 2 prompts, okay? If it didn't, go back and put them in.
Okay, I offered it in English and in Spanish. I said I offered it in English and in Spanish for the diversity in the classroom, so that students that are only Spanish-speaking students at home, their parents could read it and understand what was going to happen in the classroom with the student teacher, things like that.
Okay. Now, I tell you, it says you can only have one page. I would love for you to be able to share that, but since it's one page.
Yeah, I just mentioned it in my when
your
I answered the prompt.
Yeah, that's right.
That's how I did that.
Okay. Rules and procedures. Access and review the rules and procedures for the classroom to which you are assigned, and then respond to the guiding prompts. Describe one example of a classroom rule or procedure. Explain how the rule or procedure facilitates instruction, enhances student learning, or impacts the learning environment. Very easy. Now, task 1 is a good task. It's easy to write if you just follow the directions. Describe one example of a technology rule or procedure. I hope they have them. If they don't, you may have to make up one. And explain how the rule or procedure facilitates instruction, enhances student learning, and impacts the learning environment. So that's task 1 in a nutshell, and it's not new to you. And I appreciate Leanne sharing that information, because it lets me know that, hey, I've been there, I've done that, and I understand what's going on with it. And I think you all should at this point. So we're looking for some great scores to come in. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let us know. Now, are there any questions about anything? Is everybody where they need to be? You have everything that you need to have? Have you heard from your supervising professor?
I do have one more question for you, Dr. Bill.
Mhm.
Since I'm in Wilson County Schools, I'm actually wrapping up my second week of observations. I started January 6th.
Okay.
And I will be moving into lesson plan, you know, my first lesson plan. And I have the lesson plan format for University of Mount Olive. It was in the packet.
Mhm.
My question is, when I'm doing one lesson plan, I can see doing it on that format. But when I take over the full load later in March, and even 4 lessons at a time, am I supposed to still use that format? Because that would be about 5 or 6 different lessons every single day, about 25 lessons a week if I do it that way.
I'm going to say simply yes. For every lesson that you develop, you should use that lesson plan. Now, if you and your supervisor professor can work something out that you don't have to do quite as many, it's okay with me, but it is designed that you do a lesson plan per lesson, simply because they're all different. The assessment, formal and informal, are going to be different. It may not be quite as detailed, but you certainly need to have a lesson plan for each one of the lessons that you teach.
Yes. Could I merge it though? Like using more than one standard on that lesson plan, even if it is different activities, like a writing lesson with the
Yes,
ELA
ma'am.
lesson, they integrate a lot.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Yes.
Thank you. That answers my question. Helps me out.
Yeah, that works. Because if you put all that, if you do several, but make sure you have what's important is that you are evaluating, assessing, and reflecting. Okay. So that lesson plan will do that.
Okay.
Do
As
that.
long as I got it look
If you can do that.
each one.
Mhm.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay. Well, I'm going to say good night. If you don't have any questions, if you have any, send me an email, and happy student teaching.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Thank you, and good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.